जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरा बनचारी। यमुना तीरा बनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना। यमुना तीरा बनचारी। यमुना तीरा बनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे। जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा सुभद्रा माई जय सुदर्शना। जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय। श्रीनिवास गोविंद वेंकटरमण गोविंद। श्रीनिवास गोविंद वेंकटरमण गोविंद। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय श्रील गुरुदेव। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। श्रील प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are beginning with sixth canto. So it's a very auspicious day. Hari Bol. So we thought that we'll take an overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, where exactly this Bhagavatam, the sixth canto is placed, and we'll welcome Srimad Bhagavatam sixth canto as well. Okay. So I beg blessings from many senior devotees here. Mayapur Dham is present here. Vamshavardhan Prabhu, Shyamru Prabhu, Sundar Shyam Prabhu, and many other senior devotees. So we'll recite the verse and purport everything at when we come to the sixth canto specifically. We will just go through the little bit of the summary of how the Srimad Bhagavatam is placed and how we go ahead there. So we'll just begin with the prayers. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Anyway, we'll begin with the text 1 and then we'll go to the overview. Sri Parikshit Uvacha निवृत्तमार्गकथित आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृति। श्रीपरीक्षित उवाच निवृत्तिमार्गकथित आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृति। श्रीपरीक्षित उवाच निवृत्तमार्गकथित आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृतिः। श्रीपरीक्षित उवाच निवृत्तिमार्गः कथितः आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृति। श्रीपरीक्षित उवाच निवृत्तिमार्गः कथितः आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृतिः। श्रीपरीक्षित उवाच निवृत्तिमार्गः कथितः आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृतिः। माताजी। श्रीपरीक्षित उवाच निवृत्तिमार्गः कथितः आदौ भगवता यथा क्रमयोगोपलब्धेन ब्रह्मणा यदसंस्मृतिः। श्री परीक्षित उवाच Maharaj Parikshit said, Nivritti Margah, the path of liberation, Kathitah, described, Adau, in the beginning, Bhagavata, by your holiness, Yatha, duly, Krama, gradually, Yoga Upalabdhena, obtained by the yoga process, Brahmana, along with Lord Brahma, after reaching Brahmaloka, Yat, by which way, Asamsmritihi, cessation of repetition of birth and death. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Parikshit said, O my Lord, O Shukadev Goswami, you have already described in the second canto the path of liberation, Nivritti Marga. By following that path, one is certainly elevated gradually to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, from which one is promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. Thus, one's repetition of birth and death in material world ceases. Purport. Since Maharaj Parikshit was a Vaishnava, when he heard the description at the end of 5th canto of the different hellish conditions of life, he was very much concerned with how to liberate the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya and take them back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, he reminds his spiritual master Shukadev Goswami about Nivritti Marga, or path of liberation, which he had described in the second canto. Maharaj Parikshit, who at the time of death was fortunate to have met Shukadev Goswami, inquired from Shukadev Goswami about the path of liberation at that crucial time. Shukadev Goswami very much appreciated his questions and congratulated him by saying, Variyana eshate prashnah kruto lokosmin lokohitam nripah atmati sammataha pumsaha shrotavyadishu yatparah. My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial for all kinds of people. The answer to this question is prime subject matter for hearing and it is approved by all the transcendentalists. Maharaj Parikshit was astonished that the living entities in the conditional stage do not accept the path of liberation, devotional service, instead of suffering in so many hellish conditions. This is the symptom of a Vaishnava. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. A Vaishnava is an ocean of mercy, paradukha dukhi. He is unhappy because of the unhappiness of others. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit, being compassionate towards the conditioned souls suffering in hellish life, suggested that Shukadev Goswami continue describing the path of liberation, which he had explained in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The word asamsmriti is very important in this connection. Samsmriti refers to continuing the path of birth and death. Asamsmriti, on the contrary, refers to nivritti marga or path of liberation by which one's birth and death ceases and one gradually progresses to Brahma Loka unless one is a pure devotee who does not care about going to the higher planetary systems, in which case one immediately returns home back to Godhead by executing devotional service. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. Parikshit Maharaj therefore was very eager to hear from Shukadev Goswami about the path of liberation for the conditioned soul. According to the opinion of Acharyas, the word Krama Yogopalabdhena indicates that by first performing Karma Yoga, and then Jnana Yoga, and then finally coming to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, one can be liberated. Bhakti Yoga, however, is so powerful that it does not depend on Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga itself is so powerful that even an impious man with no assets in Karma Yoga or an illiterate man with no assets in Bhakti Yoga can undoubtedly be elevated to the spiritual world if he simply adheres to Bhakti Yoga. Mame Vaishyasi Asamshayah. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that by the process of Bhakti Yoga, one undoubtedly goes back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world. Yogis, however, instead of going directly to the spiritual world, sometimes want to see the other planetary systems and therefore they ascend to the planetary system where Lord Brahma lives, as indicated here by the word Brahmana. At the time of dissolution, along with all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka, goes directly to the spiritual world. This is confirmed in the Vedas as follows. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratisanchare parasyante kritatmanah pravishanti parampadam. Because of their exalted position, those who are on Brahmaloka at the time of dissolution go directly back home, back to Godhead, along with Lord Brahma. So this is the beginning of 6th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, and a very beautiful purport Prabhupada describes. So we see that Srimad Bhagavatam is, the Purana Mamalam, Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. Yes. And Srimad Bhagavatam, there are a lot of pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam. We know what is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is by Krishna, by the Supreme Lord Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is about Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is a very brief work in the middle of the battlefield. Krishna has no time. Shankha is already blown and suddenly Bhagavad Gita is to be spoken. Spoken very briefly in 45 minutes, 700 shlokas. Bhagavatam devotees are sitting together. For how long? For 1000 years. Dirgha Satrena. This is a part of that Dirgha Satra Yagya where Shukadev, the Shaunakadi Rishi, they are describing the glories of the Supreme Lord. And a variety of pastimes, they are covered in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam essentially, this is the 10 topics in Srimad Bhagavatam. So when in our, BMS programs or, when we have the kids program, we have a nice theme song for Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe, you are all very, here I see only yellow and saffron, so, but it's a very beautiful song, So, we can sing that song. It's a little childlike song, so please tolerate that song. It's like the sages of Naimisaranya sitting. So it's rhythmic also. Sarga Visarga Sthana Pushana Uti Manvantara Ishanu Katha Nirodha मुक्ति आश्रय सर्ग विसर्ग स्थान पूषण ऊति मन्वंतर ईशानुकथा निरोध मुक्ति आश्रय सर्ग विसर्ग स्थान पूषण ऊति मन्वंतर ईशानुकथा निरोध मुक्ति आश्रय. So these are the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarga, Sarga is about the creation of the universe. Then there is Visarga, the subsequent creation. Then there is a Sthana, this described here. Then there is a Poshana. Uti is inclination. And then there is a Manvantara, the description of the Manvantaras, Manvantara avatar and everything else. Then Ishanukatha, Nirodha. Ishanukatha is the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, discussion about the Lord. We will see this in detail. Nirodha is annihilation. Mukti is liberation. And then finally it is Ashraya. Ashraya is the Saman Bonam. So Bhagavatam is so beautiful, it can encompass right from the small kids, they also can be very enthralled by the stories of Bhagavatam. And at the same time, even the big Vedantists and the Tattvavadis, they are also enchanted by Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is how Bhagavatam is, summarized in different ways. From the Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan, these 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are divided accordingly. The Bhagavatam is a very beautiful chakra. It's a very beautiful repetition there. So the first we see, the first 4 cantos are considered as the spirit of the absolute. So in that sense, it represents Brahman. The next 4 cantos represent Paramatma, the super soul. And then the next 4 cantos represent Bhagavan. From the darshan perspective, we know there are Shada Darshanas, Nyaya, Vaisheshika. Then there is the Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa and Vedanta. So, from this perspective, Bhagavatam is so designed that, each 2 cantos, they flow with this particular darshan aspect of, the 6th darshan, Shada Darshan also. So this is given by Srila Jiva Goswami when he describes Srimad Bhagavatam in this summary chart. And then, the next cycle of Bhagavatam, is about, Kala, Purusha, Avatar and Dharma. So these are the 4 now. Kala, Purusha, Avatar, Dharma. So this also repeats in itself. Kala, Purusha, Avatar, Dharma. Kala, Purusha, Avatar, Dharma. Kala, Purusha, Avatar, Dharma. And then there is a description of, so similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam can be divided, in a different ways. We can see the different perspectives of Srimad Bhagavatam. But for the devotees, Padma Puran gives a very beautiful perspective of Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is personification of the Supreme Lord Krishna. And Padma Puran very beautifully has this verse. So it's a very nice verse. We'll recite this. Padau yadiyau prathamadvitiyau Truti yaturyo kathitau yad uru Nabhistatha panchamaeva shashtho Bhujantaram dor yugalam tathanto Kantastu rajan navamo yadiyo Mukharavindam dashanam prafullam Ekadasho yasya lalatapattam Shiropitu dvadasha eva bhati Tamadidevam karunanidhanam Tamalavarnam suhitavarantam अपार संसार समुद्र सेतुम् भजामहे भागवत स्वरूपम्. So this is how all the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are the personified of the Supreme Lord. The first and the second canto of Bhagavatam, they are the lotus feet of the Lord. The third and fourth canto are his thighs. The fifth canto is his navel. The sixth canto is his chest. The seventh and eighth canto are his arms. The ninth canto is his throat. 10th canto is the beautiful lotus face. The 11th canto is his forehead. 12th canto is his head. I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of the tamala tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare of all. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence, Samudra Setum. The Bhagavatam has appeared as his very self. So this is from a very beautiful verse from Padma Puran. And here we see Prabhupada. So Prabhupada writing book is non-different than Prabhupada worshipping Krishna. Now we can see, right? So how preaching and deity worship, in the Matra Sparshas verse, Prabhupada says, the basic, the austerity one has to take up in Krishna consciousness is either preaching or in deity worship. And here we see how preaching and deity worship, they are both so very beautifully culminated, reconciled in this verse. So this is how all the 12 cantos are summarized as the personification of the form of the Lord. So we will just recite this verse once again because it's a very beautiful verse. Padau yadiyau prathamadvitiyau trutiya turiyo kathitau yad uru nabhistatha panchama eva shashtho भुजान्तरं दोरयुगलं तथान्तौ कंठस्तु राजन्नवमो यदीयो मुखारविन्दं दशमं प्रफुल्लम् एकादशो यस्य ललाटपट्टम् शिरोऽपि तु द्वादश एव भाति तमादिदेवं करुणानिधानं तमालवर्णं सुहितावरन्तम् अपार संसार समुद्र सेतुम् भजामहे भागवत स्वरूपम्. So here we see the beautiful pastimes of the Lord. They are garlanding the personality of Godhead according to their canto and the specific limbs of the Lord. Okay. So Padav Yadiyo Prathamadvitiyo. The first and second, they are the lotus feet of the Lord. Trutiya Turiyo Kathitau Yaduru. Uru Kramange. Uru means the thighs. The Tritiya is the thighs. Nabhi Tatha Pancham Eva Shashto. So this is how the Supreme Lord, is described in Bhagavatam. Its personification of Bhagavatam is the Supreme Lord. And who is the personification of Srimati Radharani? That is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. That is Nectar of Devotion. So that book is so very special. It goes in sync with Bhagavatam and Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. In the preface to Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, describes that how this Bhagavatam is non-different than the Supreme Lord. And just as one takes the darshan of the deity of Krishna gradually from lotus feet to the lotus face, one has to study Srimad Bhagavatam step by step from first canto to the last. So here Prabhupada emphasizes the only qualification one needs to study this great book is to proceed step by step cautiously and not to jump forward haphazardly as with any ordinary book. It should be done chapter by chapter, one after another. In a different purport, Prabhupada writes, in the preface this comes, that after the preliminary test in Bhagavatam, so we know that Bhagavatam is a huge, voluminous work. Often we begin Bhagavatam and doesn't go after first canto, second canto, Remember when Sundarasham Prabhu was way back in 1990, 1994 to 1998, his BTech pastimes. He used to read so systematically every day Bhagavatam. And by the time he was in 4th year, he had once completed Bhagavatam. So by the time we used to ask people, Bhagavatam pada kya? We used to ask him, kitni baar, abhi, which revision it is going on, like that it is. So Bhagavatam is a very voluminous work. So what is recommended in the beginning is, we go, the pastime wise, we take the simplest, the most possible, most feasible, 1 chapter pastime like Saubhari Muni, or then 2 chapter pastime like, other, or 3 chapter pastime like Gajendra, and then slowly we have the feel of Bhagavatam, and preface it says that it is like the sugar candy. From whichever side we eat the sugar candy, we don't take the ice cream and research now, should I eat from the top or bottom or this side, that side. It's ice cream from all the sides. So Prabhupada says, after the preliminary taste in Bhagavatam, one should study the Bhagavatam very systematically, step by step, because Bhagavatam is non-different than the personality of Godhead. So this is the first and second cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the lotus feet. And it is explained this is more like a prelude to Srimad Bhagavatam. So this acts as an introduction to the entire text of Srimad Bhagavatam, introducing the prominent concepts and prominent characters in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this next 5 slides I have taken from a very beautiful summary study presented by His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu in his Bhagavat Pradipika. So they established the Supreme Lord as the personality of Godhead, and Bhakti Yoga is the topmost spiritual path. And then slowly, there are various pastimes so the beauty of Bhagavatam is, the Tattva is established in the form of the pastime. In Bhagavad Gita, Tattva is directly told. This is Tattva, take it. Bhagavatam doesn't tell like that. Bhagavatam conveys Tattva through Katha. And it is very, very palatable therefore. Correct. Because it is conveyed through Katha. And when it is done the topping off by the Vaishnava Acharyas, their commentary, it becomes very, very delicious, Rasamalayam. So these are the various pastimes in the first and second canto, which are the birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit, who chastised Kali. So that's a very big thing, because generally we are very afraid of Kali. But Maharaj Parikshit was such a personality, he even chastised Kali Yuga. And then there is a description of Bhagavatam, the history of Bhagavatam. The great devotees like Uttara, Pandava, Kunti and Bhishma surrendering to the Supreme Lord. They all come in the first canto. And then finally there is, the description of the Virat Rupa. And then there are the 4 seed verses, the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. This also comes in the lotus feet of the Lord, that is the first and second canto. And then there is a 3rd and 4th canto, that is the thighs of the Bhagavatam. So that is the creation and subsequent creation. So this is Sarga and Visarga part of the themes of the Bhagavatam. Primarily it is a samvad between Vidura and Maitreya, describing the embryology, family life, Sankhya, Bhakti Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and then there is a pastime of Lord Varahadev appearing, and then there is a Kardama Muni and Devahuti's household life and teachings of Lord Kapila. This all comes in 3rd canto. And then the 4th canto is very rich in content. It has a lot of pastimes like Lord Shiva, Suniti, Dhruva, Narada, Anga, Prithu, Prachetas. This all comes. And then this is also, there are mistakes by the devotees. They are generally, this is also covered in Bhagavatam, like Daksha committing some mistake, doing Vaishnava Aparadh. Suruchi, she is also committing Vaishnava Aparadh. Vena, Indra, Prachina Barhi. Prachina Barhi is excessive attachment to family life. So these mistakes, and how Bhagavatam is, the glorious enough not to alienate somebody for the mistake, but to include them and finally take home back to Godhead. And then there are prayers of, the devotees like Dhruva Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, Prachetas, so on and so forth. So this is the 3rd and 4th canto. And then comes the 5th canto, which we just concluded. This is the navel of the Supreme Lord. So here the topic of Visarga is more elaborately continued, and which consists of different personalities like Agnidra, Nabhi, Lord Rishabhadev, Bharat Maharaj, and then Bharat Maharaj becoming deer, and then Jada Bharata. All these pastimes finally culminating in the glorification of the bhakti. And then later we see it discusses the sthanam, the position of different planetary systems within the structure of the universe. So the universe is very enthralling to people in general. Initially, the science felt that because we don't have very, sophisticated instruments, that's why we are not understanding universe. And that's why they sent the telescope, and which was named after Hubble. Hubble was a great scientist, double quotes, okay, who gave that Hubble's constant, and we make quite fun of him. It became Hubble variable. So Hubble's constant is a very important parameter which gives the distance between the two luminaries based on their brightness. Okay. Needless to say, it has changed 20 times in past 20 years. So they felt that because we are not able to see from telescope sitting here, let us send Hubble in the sky. Okay, and then Hubble is orbiting at a particular, the particular orbit, a particular distance. And when Hubble started sending the pictures of the universe, they realized what we thought we knew, is not even even the tip of the iceberg. It's nothing. So the Hubble started, sending so many images, and if you see the modern, the astrophysics, they talk. If you speak to astrophysicists, they talk only in billions, trillions, and what difference does it make? Just some billion light year away, this planet, and that planet is some trillion, not just trillion, 40,000 billion, trillion, quadrillion light year away. And you say, oh, this much away, oh, very good, very good. And then they realized that, Hubble, it is said that Hubble created more questions than answers. And then therefore they sent, very recently they have sent another telescope there, John's Webb. Some $40 billion they have put in, and they have sent it now. And they said that, what is this new telescope? Hubble was like a black and white photograph. This is like, like 100 MP photograph, full colored. And now whatever pictures this fellow is sending, it is creating such doubts. Recently they found, the very huge cloud is covering the entire solar system, which was missed by Hubble. So there was a bubble which was missed by Hubble, right? And now they are finding, and now all the theories are going topsy-turvy now. Because all the knowledge that is coming from this new, the telescope, this John's Webb, is completely eradicating whatever previous knowledge coming from Hubble. And after 50 years, they will say, this fellow is also too limited, we have to send another this thing. So astrophysics has to be taken with, its own pinch of salt. They are all, one day I was just, going through one, in the night, you see, the firecracker, Marathi झाड म्हणतो आपण त्याला, बरोबर आहे ना? It just goes up and there are so many, the sparklings are there. And I was just considering that if amoeba looks at that firecracker, for him it is like a big bang, correct. So this has, we accept the version of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is very, very important. And then what to speak of amoeba looking at aeroplane, amoeba looking at elephant. If any time we have any doubt about universe, just consider amoeba looking at anything. Amoeba looking at iPhone. Just nothing. This is a different topic altogether. But this is very, one of the first mistake of science was they considered world to be very small. And the second mistake science is committing now is considering world to be very huge. Both are mistakes. And it's a typical of a science. From one extreme, go to the next extreme. Right? You just go to one extreme, eat just anything and everything. Go to the next extreme, just become, you just cannot eat this, cannot eat that, become vegan, this, that. This typically. So this Bhagavatam explains, fifth canto explains about the, the sthanam as well. So sthanam is the position of various planetary systems, which we have to simply accept without argument. So this is called as, the acceptance, stage of acceptance. And this 3, 4, 5, this is the family tree of Swayambhuva Manu. The Manu's various descendants like Devahuti, Akuti, Prasuti, Uttanapat, Priyavrat, they are being covered in these cantos. And then we come to the chest of the Lord, that is Srimad, that is the 6th canto, Poshanam. So this is compared to the chest of the Lord. And this is primarily focused on the protection offered by the Lord to his devotees. Sometimes even the devotee is transgressing dharma accidentally. That we will see in the summary of 6th canto. That how sometimes they are transgressing dharma, but the Lord is not showing the law, the Lord is going by spirit, and he proves himself as Achyuta. Right? So this is one of the main theme of the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, some topics of Visarga and others are considered here, and then there are beautiful narrations of different pastimes, which we'll see in a minute. So, similarly goes the 7th canto. So, 7th canto, they are the arms of the Lord. That is, the very powerful Narasimhadev protecting his devotee, protection of the devotees. And then we go to the 8th canto, that is Manvantara. Okay, the descriptions of the Manus and pastimes of the Supreme Lord in the Manvantara. And then we come to the 9th canto, that is Ishanukatha. So here Lord Ram's, this is Lord Ram's pastime also comes here. And different pastimes like Pururava, Yayati, the Moon Dynasty, Sagara, Ikshvaku, Ambarish Maharaj, very prominent. This is the throat of the Lord. And the 10th canto is the Samanbonam. This is the lotus face of the Lord. 11th canto is Mukti. Here the topic of liberation is being discussed elaborately. Lord Krishna and he is destructing the Yadu dynasty, by the curse of the sages. Nimi and Navayogendra. And then finally, the 12th canto is Nirodha, that is destruction. So this is how this 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam flow through the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So, and of these 10 topics, we are going to begin today, the 6th canto. Okay. So 6th canto has, its own beautiful pastime. We will be coming across the very beautiful pastime of Ajamil. So Ajamil, of course, it will come in the discussions. Some of the nectar points from the Acharyas here. It is explained that Ajamil was actually, when he was distracted, he was actually reciting the Sanskrit verses for protection. But he was not involved in chanting those verses. So in the pastime of, Jada Bharata, Bharat Maharaj, Prabhupada writes, Bharat Maharaj was aware that he was doing a mistake, but he did not rectify consciously. And that's why, he had to take a detour of becoming a deer and then Jada Bharata and then, finally going back home, back to Godhead. So the conscious mistakes of a devotee, like sometimes while chanting, we may be scrolling through WhatsApp or something like that, and we are aware it's 11th offense and everything, but still, it just, of course, not in an association of devotee, but when a person like me chanting at home alone and you just want to do multitasking. So this is, and the next it is how the potency of the holy name. Jnana tatva ajnanat, uttama shloka gunanuyad. That how the way the holy name is chanted, simply because the holy name is chanted, it is so powerful. One class I was hearing from His Holiness Chandramouli Maharaj, where he says that this chanting of Mahamantra is so special, Mahamantra itself is so special, that in the Mahamantra, there is no other word than the holy name of the Lord. Generally in the mantra, you will have, some word which is not part of the name of the Lord. Like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here Namo is coming, which is not exactly the, it's activity, but not the name of the Lord. Right? Or some mantra words has the word Jai is there, like Jai Shri Ram or Shri Ram, Jai Ram, or, So in all the mantras, you will find a word which is not name of the Lord. But when we chant Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in chanting of the Mahamantra, there is no other word than the name of the Lord. It's Hare, Krishna and Rama. This is so intensely, with Krishna Prema, Krishna is there. Only the name of the Lord, and there is no other word apart from the name of the Lord. And then finally, seeing that Samvada, he is accidentally calling Narayana, and the Supreme Lord, the Vishnudutas come. So 2 points Acharyas mention here. They say that why 4 Vishnudutas came. So why 4 Vishnudutas came? They say that because he chanted the word Narayana. And they say that when you chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How many Vishnudutas will come? 16 nahi, 32. So, it is said that there will be traffic jam of Vishnudutas to take the devotee back home, back to Godhead, who is engaged in chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is, this is the Ajamil Mahatmya. And then it is said that the 4 Vishnudutas, the same 4 came to take him back to Godhead. So this is also one of the very important point, that the same 4 Vishnudutas, not the different follow-up. No, same follow-up is going on, okay, by this Vishnudutas. And then there is a story of the daughters of Daksha. So we know that Daksha first, he progenited 10,000 sons. All became, the IYF devotees, right, like that. And then he was not so enthusiastic. Then his enthusiasm reduced. He produced 1,000 sons. Narad Muni, while 1,000 sons, he did not take even succession and everything. He just said, intelligent brothers follow their elder brother. One line preaching. The potency of Narad Muni. All 1,000 became brahmacharis. And now Daksha is thinking, what to do? And then he has his own seva. We have to be a little compassionate to Daksha also. He has his own seva as a Prajapati. So then he tricked Narad Muni. And then enthusiasm was still reduced from 10,000 to 1,000, and then he had 60 daughters. Now Narad Muni cannot make them into any, some brahmachari or something like that. So this very beautiful pastime of daughters of Daksha Prajapati, this also comes. And then there is a glorious pastime of Indra and Vritrasur. Bhagavatam in other Puranas is known for story of Vritrasur. It is said that Bhagavat Puran, which also contains narration of Vritrasur, right? In couple of Sundays back, we had Kadam Krishna Prabhu describing one of the shloka just before the Chatushloki of Vritrasur. And the Vritrasur Chatushloki is considered as one of the pinnacle of Srimad Bhagavatam. Aham Hare Tava Padaika Mula, those very beautiful verses of... and then, we see... the time is up basically. So then we see that this very beautiful pastime, how Indra offending his spiritual master and then offending his another spiritual master. The first was a neglect. Second was a direct hitting, killing the all the 3 heads which flew in 3 directions. And then Tvashta becoming extremely angry. And then Indra and demigods approaching Dadichi Muni and asking him to die so that they can make a weapon. So very different aspects are covered in Bhagavatam, that that material enjoyment, this is, I'm speaking beyond my realization, but Prabhupada writes this, so just quoting as it is. Material enjoyment can make one so shameless that it can ask somebody, can you please die for me? So that I can use your bones to fight somebody and recover, pay my house EMI, basically. This is, some the modern context. This is how Indra and the demigods, Sakama Bhakta, and the Lord is also extremely unhappy at, different points. He is chastising, when they go and they say that, my pure devotee like Vritrasur. And he says that you Sakam Bhakta, go to Dadichi. He is also pure devotee. He will happily die for you. Vritrasur will happily die for you. And after killing these 2 pure devotees, take your kingdom and enjoy it. So we can see the mood of disgust in the, in the narrations of the Lord. Like that. And then there is a very beautiful pastime of Vritrasur's appearance. How beautifully it is explained. It is said that just like the arrows released in 4 directions. Just imagine arrows are released. And they will go in 4 directions. Similarly, body of Vritrasur grew. And it grew so big. It practically covered everything. Vritra, Avrita. It's covering everything. And therefore, he was known as Vritrasur. And then, there is Vritrasur came to fight. And when the demigods saw Vritrasur, they realized, you realize this is not my task. And they were attacking the demons, and then Vritrasur began to chastise in such heavy words. So this is, very beautiful pastime of Vritrasur comes there. And then there is a natural question that, how such a great personality became an asura. And then the next story is Maharaj Chitraketu. This also we will see in the 6th canto. So, the Chitraketu Maharaj, he was such a great personality. All material happiness, one thing not right in the life. Everything destroyed. This is how illusory material happiness is. And we have to realize that in our life we have to tolerate something and we have to always tolerate something in somebody. These are two important realization this gives. कुछ तो अच्छा होगा ही नहीं. In the Grihastha context, we say that, three things you will not get exactly as per your expectations. Your job, it will have some good points and, pros and cons. Your house and your husband or wife. Okay. I mean, brahmachari context, you can say your boss or something. I don't know. I don't want to comment or anything. So, in given situation, however glorious the situation is, we have to always tolerate something. And in given personality, we have to always tolerate something. That when some person comes to us, we should very clearly know what to expect from him and what to not expect from him. Some person is there who is very, the very, very shrewd and courteous. You cannot expect he will, casual over say, Prabhuji, kaise hai tumi, challai na theek. He is a very cutthroat man. He will say, Prabhuji, kaisa hai, seva kaisa hai. I mean, like that. And that's how he is. Baki rest is a very amazing personality. We have to tolerate that. So in every personality, we have to tolerate one trait. And in every situation, we have to tolerate at least one thing. So here, Maharaj Chitraketu, he had everything. Only thing, he had no son. And it was such a heavy thing on him. He just got married after married after married, one marriage after another. Explain real, the first Karodpati, the 1 crore wives. So, and still no child. And, in one of the explanations, Radhanath Maharaj says, Maharaj Chitraketu was a very, the typical Vedic king. He was matching all the patrika and marrying and, everything he was doing, but still there was no child. So, and then, the later he was, the Parvata Muni and, who was? Angira Muni and Narad Muni enlightened him, he became enlightened. And then, in the stage of enlightenment, he happened to speak something which was not understood by Parvati Devi. So, this is also another thing. We misunderstanding somebody is our responsibility. We cannot say, I am like this, you understand or misunderstand, I don't bother. No, I mean, he had no intention. He said, only Lord Shiva can do this, that his wife is sitting on the lap and he is speaking on renunciation. Lord Shiva was smiling. He knew that he is sarcastically glorifying. Mother Parvati took it as offense. And she just cursed, you will become a demon in the next life. And the response of, the Chitraketu Maharaj. If you see the response of Chitraketu in 2 times, when his son died, okay, and he's falling, cribbing, crying, becoming unconscious, unable to reach to the place where his son is there. And suddenly when Narada and Angira Muni appear there, the finest prayers he offers to Narada Muni and Angira Muni in that stage. Just minutes back he was crying and, in coma and, such devastating news. What a high class character of, Chitraketu Maharaj. And second is how he accepts this curse. Because Chitraketu Maharaj is a very powerful personality. And if he offers he counter curses Parvati. Parvati is who is Parvati? Entire material nature. So this could lead to even destruction of the universe. But he accepts this very, the very humbly, Bhava Pravaha Lokasmin. Kashyapa. He says that in the huge river of Bhava Pravaha, what is Shap and what is Ushyap? I don't know. I mean, that story of what is a good thing and what is a bad thing. It's all mercy of the Lord. And he accepts this. And then finally there is a Bhakti Shakti, the pastime of Indra and Diti. So how the Diti became untimely attracted to Kashyapa Muni. And then, by the powerful potency of Kashyapa, 2 children were born. Who is the pastime, who are the characters in the next canto? Who are they? Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And then Diti became very upset with Indra. So somebody may ask, the Lord killed Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Why Diti was upset with Indra? So one very beautiful analogy comes here. Just like, there are children in the class and, one child is very, very mischievous. And one child, another student complains about this child to the class teacher and class teacher will give, hittings to this child who is mischievous. Now this mischievous child will be angry with whom? Class teacher or the complainer? So Diti felt, Diti was not angry with Lord Vishnu. Kisne complain kiya? इंद्रारी व्याकुलम लोकम. So she said, "Abhi tumko dhada sikhati hu." I mean. So then Diti became very angry with Indra and she was planning. And then there is entire pastime of how beautifully Kashyapa Muni tricked Diti in the Pumsavan ceremony. So this is all we are going to discuss in the 6th canto, which we are beginning today. Nivritti marga katita adau bhagavata yatha krama yogopalabdhena brahmana yad samsmriti. So we will conclude here and continue to. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Yeah, is there any question? Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for your wonderful class, very nicely explaining the 10 topics of Bhagavatam, how they are placed in 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how Srimad Bhagavatam is a personification of Lord Krishna. And then very nicely describing the pastimes and lessons of 6th canto. So thank you so much for that. Prabhuji, I had one question that why did Srila Prabhupada name the first canto as creation?
Why did Srila Prabhupada named first canto as creation? Again, when we see that, this is a very, very, we can say, gross is not right word, but very gross differentiation that, this is Sarga, this is Visarga, this is Poshana, this is Uti. Within every canto, there is again the 10 topics are covered. Within every chapter, again 10 topics are covered. Within every verse, 10 topics are covered. Within every word, 10 topics are covered. This is Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is far beyond. I mean, this is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he begins his commentary. The Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he writes his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, the first verse, Janmadiyasya Yataha. So, he's in full flow. He's just writing. The first he says that how this verse represents Supreme Lord Krishna. Then he writes how this verse represents Lord Rama. Then, and everything, everything he's writing in that word-to-word translation. How this verse, when bifurcated like this, entirely describes Lord Rama. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Radharani. And then Bhakti. And then like that he explains it in 7 different ways. And then he says, I can explain it in unlimited ways, but you will be bewildered. Therefore, I am narrating, confining myself only to 7 ways. So Bhagavatam is infinite, just like the Supreme Lord is infinite. So, so that's why it is not that only one first canto considers this or 6th canto will be Poshana. All topics are in all parts of Srimad Bhagavatam. But dhobal manani, grossly you see that some topics are divided like this. Right?
Apparently, we see when we read the chapters of the first canto of Bhagavatam, so there is not much description about creation. But still we find that Prabhupada specifically, he could have kept any other name. But why did he choose to?
Right. Okay, good. You are not giving up. So that's good. Sundarsham Prabhu. Okay, one realization I have understood something like that is, Bhagavatam chapters are not named after how it begins, but the Bhagavatam chapters are named how it concludes. And it's a very, very profound thing. So Bhagavatam chapters, you will see, that this particular chapter, we can take some chapter, some chapter we can take. So generally, they will be named many times from the way they conclude as well. Okay, now the second canto is going to describe about the creation. This could be one of the reasons why Prabhupada named this first canto as creation. But for a devotee, what it means is, how we begin bhakti is not, it's okay, it's nice. But how we conclude bhakti is also very important. Because many are invited, but few will continue. Like one day when Prabhupada, somebody came to Prabhupada and, in 1966-67, and it was unheard of, devotee leaving ISKCON. And people were thinking, such a nice deity, such a nice philosophy, ISKCON bullets, prasad, this, that. People were so excited, apple chutney and everything. How could somebody leave? And they came to Prabhupada shocked. They said that Prabhupada, he has left. Prabhupada gave a very epic reply. Prabhupada said, what was Prabhupada's reply? He said that don't be shocked who has left, be shocked who stays back. So this is also that, how, so Bhagavatam is generally how it concludes, because now it is going to go to the second canto. Therefore, Prabhupada, maybe first canto. But this is not my question. This is Vamshivardhan Prabhu, Sundarsham Prabhu. This, the technical giants. This question should go to them. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll conclude here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada.